We're in the middle of Galaxy S9 hype season right now, and that's all well and good. Both the S9 and S9 Plus look pretty great so far. But I think we'll have a few more months to wait for what will be the most interesting Samsung phone of 2018, the Galaxy Note 9. See, the long-running Note line could experience something of an existential crisis this year, as Samsung once again tries to figure out what makes a Note worth the money in a world that also contains a Plus model Galaxy S. We did this same dance back in 2017, and the answer was, well, the Note gives you an S Pen, some subtle spec upgrades, and a second camera, and not a whole lot else. Samsung could do the same in 2018, and it would probably be fine in the short term, add a couple extra gigs of RAM, maybe 3 cameras instead of 2. But in the long term, this isn't really sustainable, and I think Samsung would do better to take a step back and do something radically different with the next Note. So here are the top 5 things that I want to see in the Galaxy Note 9. This one seems obvious. We all want better battery life, and a larger capacity is always better. In the old days, this used to be one of the main attractions of a big phone like the Note. A bigger screen means a bigger footprint, which means there's more space inside for a larger battery. But a few different factors have conspired to rob the Note 8 of this advantage. First, in the wake of the Note 7 fiasco, Samsung is still playing it safe with battery sizes in its phones. As many of the teardowns reveal, there's plenty of space around the cell, as Samsung employs an abundance of caution to avoid any explosive mishaps this time around. The other problem is something unique to the Note. Internal space that might otherwise go towards fitting in a bigger battery is occupied by the S Pen. That means when you compare two otherwise near identical phones like the S8 Plus and Note 8, of course the Note has to make do with a smaller battery. There's no easy answer here so long as the Galaxy Note and Galaxy S lines stay so similar. It's a problem in need of a radical solution, so this might sound a bit crazy, but stick with me here. Sure, the 18 or 18.5:9 aspect ratio is the new hotness right now, but going back to 16:9 would solve a few problems for the Note. Not only would the more traditional widescreen aspect work better for media consumption, it'd free up horizontal space inside the phone for a bigger battery, and very clearly differentiate the Note line from the Galaxy S line in terms of its appearance. Remember, a shorter screen doesn't have to mean gratuitous over-the-top bezels. The Huawei Mate 10, the regular version, not the Pro, uses a 6-inch 16:9 panel with almost non-existent side bezels and barely any forehead or chin to be seen either. And overall, the Mate 10 works pretty well. It's not a one-handed phone by any means, but then neither is the absurdly tall Note 8. Samsung isn't expected to change its adaptive fast charging tech at all in the Galaxy S9, which would make it the 5th generation of Samsung phones to use this rebadged version of Qualcomm Quick Charge 2. Instead, the company has emphasized wireless charging over fast wired charging in many of its recent products. And once again, the long shadow cast by the Note 7 probably has something to do with Samsung's reluctance to go too crazy with anything battery related. But on the other hand, competitors like OnePlus, Huawei and Honor are eating Samsung's lunch here with super fast wired charging speeds through their Dash Charge and Supercharge features. And hey, guess what? They're doing it safely, without anything catching on fire or overheating. There's really no reason why Samsung, with all the technology at its disposal, can't do the same. In-display fingerprint technology is finally here. We saw this showcased by Synaptics and Vivo at CES 2018, and it seems likely that many more manufacturers will use this technology this year. However, just because the technology is shipping doesn't mean the yields are high enough for a phone that will sell in the tens of millions of units. Also, as we saw at CES, this particular in-display sensor, which is optical, is a good deal slower than traditional fingerprint sensors used in current Android phones, unlocking in 0.7 seconds in the Vivo test device we used. Still, I'm hopeful Samsung can solve both issues in time for a next-gen Note launch. Notes generally ship in smaller numbers than Galaxy S phones, so the supply demands wouldn't be quite as high, plus any future Note would ship with a processor much faster than the Snapdragon 630 used in Vivo's phone, which should help with those unlock times. Every year it's the same story, a shiny new Note arrives with a crusty old version of Android, and in 2018 there's really no excuse for this trend to continue. Project Treble exists, and Google has gone out of its way to structure Android in a way that lets phone makers ship the new OS right away. Besides which, we know that top-tier manufacturers like Samsung get code well ahead of the public release. Last year I visited Huawei's HQ in China, and the company's software lead told me it had already been working with Google on Android P for 3 months at that point, and that was in September 2017. So companies making multi-million selling Android phones have no excuse for shipping on old software anymore. Anyway, that's my wishlist for the Samsung Galaxy Note 9. Be sure to share your own down in the comments and subscribe so you don't miss all the Android goodness coming in 2018. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.